I mean, why are you here? There must be a reason for you to be here.
Yes, I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
You're gonna end up fighting every elected official in this country.
Sure you don't really mean that, Lois?
I will end the war in Ukraine. I will stop the chaos in the Middle East, and I will prevent World War III from happening. And you have no idea how close we are.
Donald, you must move your head.
Shenzo, you died, and I'd never got the chance to say goodbye.
Donald, I don't say goodbye. You need to remember your training. Move your head. I cannot explain. I must go.
Wait, Shenzo, if I never see you again, then and see you later, Space Cowboy.
But you will see me again, because there's one last thing that I must do.
Months old, and if you want to really see something that's sad, take
Thank you, Shenzo.
I'll guard the rose, and I'll guard the skies.
Im Süden hat der Gegner Zossen genommen und stößt auf Stahnsdorf vor. Der Feind operiert jetzt am nördlichen Stadtrand zwischen Frohnau und Pankow. Und im Osten ist der Feind bis zur Linie Lichtenberg-Marsdorf-Karlshorst gelangt.
Mit dem Angriff Steiners wird das alles in Ordnung kommen.
Mein Führer, Steiner
konnte nicht genügend Kräfte für einen Angriff massieren. Der Angriff Steiner ist nicht erfolgt.
Es bleiben im Raum Keitel, Jodl, Krebs und Burgdorf.
Das war ein Befehl! Der Angriff Steiners war ein Befehl! Wer sind Sie, dass Sie es wagen, sich meinen Befehl zu widersetzen?
Good morning. It is 5:30 a.m. if you're on the East Coast. It is 2:30 a.m. if you're up late with us on the West Coast. Donald Trump is on the verge of returning to the White House at this hour. The former president speaking to supporters earlier this morning, claiming victory, surrounded by family, telling supporters that they made history. The NBC Decision Desk has not yet called the presidency for Donald Trump, but realistically, we can say that Kamala Harris, the vice president, has no viable path to 270 in terms of electoral college votes at this point.
Sometimes the more you fuck around, the more you'll find out. And we found out.
Letter. He may have. Wait. Don't they leave it in the desk? I don't know. Oh.
What's in there?
Thank you, Peter. It could have been years before we got this. Wow. Thank you.
Can you stay on the outside?
Maybe we should all read it together.
Let's read it.
Well, maybe I'll read it first and then make that determination.
That sounds great.
Peter, thank you very much. I may not have seen this for months.
Happy to help with the passing of the torch.
I did. I left him one in the desk just like this.
President Trump did.
We protect and defend South Korea. And in exchange, they steal our automobile industry, they steal our electronics industry. We protect and defend Japan, and in exchange, they close their market to our cars. We protect and defend Canada, and they run up a massive trade deficit with us. We protect and defend all of Europe at a cost of trillions of dollars over time, and what do? They run an over $300 billion trade deficit with the United States. Why should America protect the world, send foreign aid to the world, defend the world, provide for the world, and in exchange, get ripped off by every other country in the world? And what do we have to show for it? The deindustrialization of the heartland, the destruction of the American dream, the eradication of our industrial and manufacturing base that we need for our national security, and the crushing of the American dream. It has to stop, not to mention $36 trillion in debt.
IRS and people paying taxes. Well, now the IRS is reporting that because of Doge cuts, a lot of people aren't paying their taxes or filing. Yeah, that's right. Go fuck yourself, IRS. Yeah, you've been stealing from us for years. You can kiss my fucking ass. How's that sound? Oh no, people aren't filing taxes like they should. Oh, what do you gotta do? Why don't you cry about it, asshole? Yeah, I've been paying taxes for over 10 years and you've been sending me letter after letter trying to practically knock down my door for owing barely anything, but you were fucking relentless, weren't you? So I hope nobody pays you. I hope nobody files. I hope it just fucking collapses like the fall of Rome. You get every bit of that you deserve. I hope they fire everybody, get rid of the IRS, and get rid of income tax totally. You know what you can do, IRS? You can suck a fuck.
All right. That's enough chitter chatter. Hey, it's your guy to the 21st century, Nate Houseman. And yeah, I was going to make a video on current events, but there's just so much to talk about. And I thought, you know what? I was going to probably doom scroll on Twitter anyway, so I'm going to doom scroll with you guys and read a few articles. So if you find this content valuable, please give it a like on whatever platform you're watching this on, either Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, Kick. Subscribe on whatever platform you're on, YouTube, Rumble, Kick, Twitter, and share it with your friends and loved ones. So I'm going to start with this Twitter post by, or X post by Clandestine. So you heard about that, what was he, Senator, Representative Padilla, who got arrested for invading Kristi Noem's personal space. This is what Clandestine says about Padilla. And Cory Booker on the No Kings weekend. It's clear what the Dems are up to with this Padilla thing. They keep bringing up their No Kings protest this weekend. They're trying to rile the public and incite a nationwide insurrection. We are witnessing a regime change in operation. And I don't know if I want to actually watch Cory Booker make a fool of himself because I have a low tolerance for cringe, but we'll just see how long. Okay, that's enough. The difference between MAGA and the left, which Cory Booker represents, is MAGA doesn't have to lie about the left. I can't remember if I've got videos of Padilla being arrested in my bookmarks. I can't remember if we're going to actually see that in the lineup, but there's video of him just being a nuisance and not even identifying himself as a U.S. Senator at that press conference with Kristi Noem. He got in her space. He interrupted reporters. He was the aggressor. He drew first blood in that instance. So, and for Booker to say that MAGA is oppressive, no, MAGA is acting in self-defense. And at this point, if you're a Democrat, if you support any of the causes we're going to go over, No Kings, LA riots, Hollywood, that is probable cause. And we have every right to look into you and wonder, why should you have a job? Who the hell should employ you unless they deserve the Bud Light treatment? All right. So that was just the introduction. There's several ways for you to support this program. I've got several affiliate links and referral partners that I want to show my support to, and I am happy to promote these products and services, not just because I get a commission, but because I use them myself and I find use in them, and they are there for your benefit. I don't just choose products and services for the heck of it. I choose products and services that serve America and its allies and serve life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. One of those is Blackout Coffee. And let me just read an ad read that I wrote here. You've probably seen Black Rifle Coffee at Walmart, or at the cold brew section of the convenience store, or any other corporate retail chain. Black Rifle Coffee purports to be a patriotic company supporting the Second Amendment, but they turn their backs on the Kyle Rittenhouse. They are absolute phonies. Who can you trust not to sell out? If you want to support a genuine American coffee company that supports your right to self-defense, choose Blackout Coffee. That's Blackout Coffee, not Black Rifle Coffee, Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee is endorsed by the Second Amendment Foundation. Their products are available online, like any self-respecting 21st century startup, and they just taste better. I know because I've had it myself. So, I treat myself to Blackout Coffee, and you can treat yourself to Blackout Coffee by clicking the link in the description. Again, that's Blackout Coffee, not Black Rifle Coffee. So use my link in the description or my promo code for 10% off your purchase. So, we're going to talk about the No Kings supposed protest, the congresswoman in Minnesota. And this is from Zero Hedge. No King's terror. Fake cop assassinates Minnesota Democrat who blocked health care for illegal. So I got 10 articles here, which I'm going to read, and then we're going to just have at it on Twitter. Or just going to read all the posts I've bookmarked, scroll on my Twitter feed, and hand out engagement farming scores. Okay, this is by Tyler Durden. Update. Vance Luther Bolter, age 57, a former appointee of Democratic Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, is a suspected gunman in the politically motivated shooting that killed one Minnesota state representative and wounded a state senator. This tweet isn't displaying, but we're going to read the text. Vance Luther Bolter, a Democrat activist and 2019 appointee of Governor Tim Walz, is the suspect in a targeted shooting of Minnesota lawmakers Melissa Hortman and John Hoffman. Both are moderate Democrats. So what was he appointed by? What did Tim Walz appoint him to? So I think there's some sort of like contract that he's on the board of, and his wife at their home early Saturday, leaving them seriously injured. He then proceeded to the home of former Democratic House Speaker Melissa Hortman, where he fatally shot her and her husband. Now, we're going to see some tweets. We're going to see some ex-posts questioning whether it was really Holter who did this, because he's at least 75 pounds heavier than the person on the video, on the doorbell cam. But this is from Alpha News, this tweet. Vehicle reportedly used by Minnesota assassination suspect Vance Luther Bolter being towed away. So, the two shootings were located several miles apart in northern Minneapolis. Police engaged the suspect in a hail of gunfire at Horman's home, but he managed to escape on foot. Bolter's manifesto won't be released. So they found a manifesto, and they found a bunch of flyers for the No Kings demonstrations. The suspect has a shady past. Tweet by Paul Cipolla. Screenshots from suspected Minnesota attacker Vance Luther Bolter's public LinkedIn before it was taken down. Fourth image shows he indeed volunteered for the governor's Workforce Development Board in Minnesota. Tim Walz had a lot of explaining to do. So each state has their own workforce development, like department or office, to help people find jobs. I've been to the Iowa Workforce Development Office in Cedar Rapids several times because employers got their thumbs up their asses in the 21st century. But suspect in the Minnesota attack was reportedly Vance Luther Bolter. We read that already. Vance Bolter was running this international NGO, the Red Lion Group. Reading this description of what they're supposedly trying to do reads like pure NGO fraud, and this guy was just trying to siphon a salary and an expense account, and likely was looking for tax dollars to do that. So he was on an NGO. We all know what NGOs are doing because of, thanks to Doge, they're funneling money to, taxpayer money to criminal and illicit causes. Vance Bolter is also connected to a Minnesota entity called You Give Them Something to Eat Incorporated. And Seamus Bruner in this tweet is reposting something by Data Republican. Vance Bolter, the suspect in today's shootings, was the CEO of an international NGO called Red Lion Group, but I can't find any photographs or digital records of its work, only a generic website. The Red Lion Group appears to have run out of funding a month or two ago. Wonder why. And this. So Data Republican, she's exploded on Twitter. She is a former big tech company, hot shot who got fired because she got doxxed and while supporting MAGA. So in the meantime, she has built a lot of data and investigation tools for regular folks to use to track the money trails of all these NGOs, all this government money, all these politicians. So she's exploded on X in the last few months, and for good reason. She deserves it. Earlier, law enforcement found no King's paperwork in the vehicle the suspect used. This is from the Minnesota State Patrol. Picture of no King's flyers. Given the targeted shootings of state lawmakers overnight, we are asking the public not to attend today's planned demonstration across Minnesota out of an abundance of caution. Yeah, I didn't go to the demonstration in my city because I just wasn't interested. And I was just decided to stay home and work out and do chores, but I'm sure there are a lot of false flags and sleeper agents ready to pose as Trump supporters and cause shit. The New York Post noted that Bolter left behind a manifesto listing the names of 70 politicians, including Walz and his Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and a second paper stating no Kings in reference to the nationwide anti-Trump protests. A man posing as a police officer carried out a politically motivated attack in Minnesota, fatally shooting Democrat State Representative Emerita Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark, in what Governor Tim Walz called an act of targeted political violence. The gunman also wounded another Democratic lawmaker and that lawmaker's wife. So, video of Tim Walz's statement. The second politically motivated attack targeted State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, both of whom were shot multiple times. So, what this article is doing is it's just giving us updates on and repeating a lot of things that we know. But tweet by Dan Bongino says, the FBI is fully engaged on the ground in Minnesota and is working in collaboration with our local and state partners. President Donald Trump issued a statement condemning the violence. Such horrific violence will not be tolerated in the United States of America. God bless the great people of Minnesota, truly a great place. And here's his post on Truth Media, Truth Social. I've been briefed on the terrible shooting that took place in Minnesota, which appears to be a target attack against state lawmakers. Our Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and the FBI are investigating the situation, and they will be prosecuting anyone involved to the full extent of the law. Such horrific violence will not be tolerated in the United States of America. God bless the great people in Minnesota. Truly a great place. The plot thickened after Minnesota State Patrol disclosed on X that law enforcement found no King's flyers inside the suspect's vehicle. You see here, and the plot thickens a whole lot more. Shortly before Minnesota Rep. Melissa Portman was shot and killed, she broke down in tears in front of cameras after siding with Republicans. So there was a bill in the Minnesota State Legislature over giving benefits to illegal immigrants. She's a Democrat, and she voted against that. She sided with the Republicans on that. Portman was the lone Democrat who voted to cut health care access for adult illegal immigrants. How many of those immigrants were clients of Bolter's NGO? Supposed NGO. Nick Sortor again, making the connection. The suspect who killed Representative Melissa Portman this evening has been identified as 57-year-old Vance Bolter. Bolter was a Tim Walz appointee to one of the governor's boards. What a shock. He's connected to Tim Walz. Okay. Here's a video of Tim Walz. It's courtesy of Kyle Becker. Here's Minnesota Governor Tim Walz 2 weeks ago telling Democrats that they need to get meaner. 2 Minnesota lawmakers who voted against health care funding for illegal aliens were just shot in his state. Is that mean enough for the Democrat Party? Yeah, is that mean enough for the party of Preston Brooks? So, what we saw in the BLM riots in 2020, we're seeing again just with a different cover story. What a lot of these protests are doing is they are a cover. They are a Trojan horse for violent rioters. I didn't hear of any violent riots during the No Kings protests other than people just making fools of themselves. But the LA riots are riots in disguise as protests. So we're going to read this article from Fox News. Anti-ICE riot funding investigated after numerous high-budget requests for paid agitators were reported. This is from June 13th, so 2 days ago. An investigation is underway into who is funding anti-immigration and customs enforcement riots, disrupting Los Angeles and other major U.S. cities after a major company revealed it had received requests for help. So, Crowds on Demand, a California-based company that specializes in providing on-demand crowds for protests, told Fox News Digital it received numerous high-budget requests to get involved with the anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles and other cities, but declined to participate. So, this is a crowd-generating company telling the authorities at Fox News how it's done. A company spokesperson said it declined to get involved in what was happening in Los Angeles because it did not want to get close to any form of illegal activity, including violence, vandalism, or blocking off roads without a permit. We received inquiries regarding practically every major social cause manageable, and the anti-ICE demonstrations are no exceptions, the company said. The fact that we receive requests does not mean we take them. In many cases, because the budget does not match the ambition. So what we're finding out here is there are companies that generate crowds for protests. Do they just bus people there who want to be at a certain place? Do they hire people to protest? Is protesting and rioting a job where you can make money and pay your rent and pay your bills? The company added that it only takes on impactful common sense causes for both liberals and conservatives, but always represents the common sense position. Even organizing peaceful demonstrations around this issue, anti-ICE, could put those demonstrators at risk due to the presence of violent agitators and the difficulty for law enforcement in distinguishing between peaceful and violent protests, the company said. U.S. Customs and Border Protection said anyone found to be abusing the law will be held accountable. We are not here to negotiate with criminals, break the law, attack our agents. You will be arrested, prosecuted, and held accountable. No exceptions, the agency vowed in a statement on X. Senator Josh Hawley, Republican from Missouri, the chairman of the Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime and Terrorism, shared that the committee is sending letters to multiple organizations believed to be behind the funding. One of the organizations called into questioning by Hawley and the Republican California Rep. Kevin Kiley is the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, or CHIRLA, an advocacy group believed to be at the center of the anti-ICE protests in Los Angeles. Who is funding the LA riots? This violence isn't spontaneous. As chairman of the Judiciary Committee on Crime and Terrorism, I'm launching an investigation to find out, Hawley posted in a statement on X. So yeah, I mean, anyone who's got a job or has bills to pay is not going to be dealing with this crap. These are people who are either from wealthy families or they're being paid to stir shit up. Screenshot of Senator Hawley's letter. Hawley's letter noted that credible reporting has indicated the organization has provided logistical support and financial resources to individuals engaged in these disruptive actions, referring to the LA riots. Let me be clear. Bankrolling civil unrest is not protected speech. It is aiding and abetting criminal conduct. Accordingly, you must immediately cease and desist any further involvement in the organization, funding, or promotion of these unlawful activities, Hawley wrote. Kiley also questioned who was behind the funding for the rioters and suggested California Governor Gavin Newsom's motive may be a conflict of interest. The nonprofit behind the LA riots donated almost $500,000 to support Newsom's campaign. It then received $34 million in state funding. I'm sure this is all coincidence, Kiley wrote in a post on X. Kiley also shared with Fox News Digital that CHIRLA was reportedly also sponsored a campaign to abolish ICE in the past. So here's Kevin Kiley's tweet. The nonprofit behind the LA riots donated almost $500,000 to support Newsom's campaign, and then received $34 million in state funding. I'm sure this is all coincidence. And then he's retweeting this by Jed McFadder. Why is Gavin Newsom doubling? Okay, he's just, commenting on that campaign donation. The NGO, known as CHIRLA, was centrally involved in the LA riots. The organization, which had previously sponsored a campaign to abolish ICE, alerted the rioters to where ICE operations were occurring in real time. The agitators would then show up and disrupt ICE activities, including through the use of violence, Kiley said. This group is a major campaign contributor to Gavin Newsom, who has received $34 million in state funding. An investigation is absolutely appropriate and necessary. IRS records obtained by Fox News show CHIRLA has received $34 million in government grants, including 3 from former resident Joe Biden's administration for $750,000. The Million Voter Project, which received a portion of these funds and opposed Newsom's recall, has also supported anti-ICE protests, according to records. It is not clear whether either group funded any protest activity, and there is no evidence that they supported rioting. It's absolutely absurd that either myself or the governor would be supportive in any way, shape, or form to the vandalism and the violence that has taken place in our city, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass told CNN in an interview on Tuesday. Trust me, bro. She says, I've been abundantly clear that what's happening on our streets is unacceptable. Looting is criminal behavior. People will be arrested and prosecuted. I don't believe anybody who vandalizes the city supports immigrants. Bass's office told Fox News Digital she also set a curfew in downtown Los Angeles to curb bad actors who do not support the immigrant community. So if it's a peaceful protest, why is a curfew necessary? I'm not the only one to point that out. Law enforcement will arrest individuals who break curfew, and you will be prosecuted, Bass vowed. Fox News Digital reached out to CHIRLA and Newsom's office for comment, but did not immediately receive a response. So, who are we going to believe? I know Republicans in Congress are phonies. They are rhinos. So I don't know if we can trust Josh Hawley, but we certainly cannot trust Gavin Newsom. I've covered the fires in LA. That was back in January. And Gavin Newsom he's pathological. So is Karen Bass. Karen Bass is a communist in all but name. She has taken field trips to Cuba. She was connected to the terrorist bombing of the U.S. Capitol in 1983, like her associates did that. And And anyone with a fair mind ought to realize that the communists aren't so much a political party as they are a criminal organization bent on world domination. They're probably another branch or tentacle of the New World Order. So, now with all these violent criminals, rioters, assassins, crooked law enforcement, you ever see the badge of the LA County Sheriff's Department? The badges that the sheriff and the deputies wear? Look in the points of the star and you'll see this kind of like triangular spiral sort of design. That is a known symbol for PDF files. So, government of California and Los Angeles is in on this. So, how do you prepare? How do you deal with all this? Well, you don't fight them directly. You only defend yourself. You never start fights, but you are prepared to end them. And that brings me to one of my next sponsors, and that is Wolf Tactical. You can see I'm wearing their EDC, their Everyday Carry Sling Bag. Everyday Carry, or EDC for short. It's just, a phrase for carrying your gear in preparation of whatever it is. So it is, but you can I have the EDC bag right now. Purses or fanny packs kind of in the style, like over the head, over the shoulder. Both male, female, kids, adults. I like to wear this when I'm driving Uber. Driving Uber is one of my two main full-time jobs. And, when I tell passengers that I'm armed, they're fine with it. In fact, they approve of it. They are enthused by it. So, what I do is I keep So, if they can do this over DEI, the whole diversity, equity, and inclusion, propaganda push, what else could bad actors use this for? Could they be using this for propaganda against Israel, against the United States, Could they be spreading racism, anti-African American, anti-whatever? Let's read this article and put our thinking caps on. A coordinated campaign used bogus social media accounts to amplify backlash against Target after the company scaled back its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, according to a Blockbuster report. An analysis by Israeli tech firm Cyabra found that nearly a third of the social media accounts driving outrage over the retail giant's policy were fake. By the way, this article is from June 5th, so 10 days ago. The Minneapolis-based retailer announced it would roll back its controversial initiatives, which had drawn scorn from conservatives for touting items such as tuck-friendly bathing suits after President Trump returned to the White House on January 20th. Yeah, remember the outrage over adult-themed merchandise in the kids section of Target? And then the leftists and the DEI flack said, oh no, you're anti-LGBT. No, you're using LGBT as a Trojan horse for PDF files. Same principle as the rioters who hide among the peaceful protesters. They are conflating two different things. So, by hiding behind something that's widely accepted, America's enemies are introducing things that are meant to harm us. Let's continue. Cyabra reviewed thousands of posts on Elon Musk-owned X, formerly Twitter, from January 1st to April 21st, and discovered that 27% of the accounts were inauthentic, many of which played a major role in pushing boycott narratives. Cyabra's data showed that inauthentic posts jumped 764% after Target's announcement, flooding the platform with calls for consumer boycotts and viral hashtags like #economic-blackout. The firm's CEO, Dan Brahmi, described the backlash as a calculated effort to manufacture outrage. What happened with Target is a masterclass in manufactured outrage, Brahmi told the Post on Thursday. Fake accounts hijacked the narrative, weaponized identity, and pushed a boycott that looked grassroots but was anything but. This is how influence operations work now. They blur the line between real and fake until no one can tell the difference. So, now, I'm seeing a lot of anti-Semitic posts on X. I'm seeing a lot of anti-black posts on X. And they're using the cover of an honest-to-God Republican conservative president in his administration. They're saying the impression they're trying to give is this sort of thing is on the rise. I've said before, it's okay to criticize Israel. It's okay to criticize America. Every country has its own affiliate of the deep state. The deep state players, the criminal syndicate, the New World Order, whatever you want to call it. There's offices embedded in every country. Every country has a corrupt government. Some just hide better. Likewise, every country has its white hats. Even China. President Trump, and I suspect, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, they're all working together to erase and undo the damage by the deep state around the world. I'm not so sure about Xi Jinping. I have a sneaking suspicion he's one of the white hats, but I'm not going to say that for sure. Same with Vladimir Putin. I have a better feeling about Putin than Xi, but they're all kind of like threading the needle and walking the tightrope as far as like public perception. But let's continue with this article here. Some profiles push slogans such as Target Fast and 40-day boycott, while others accuse the retailer of bending the knee to Trump. One purported X-user with the handle Nennelsback posted on January 27th, "At Target, can't get my money. It's like being betrayed by a family member. We gave Target so much respect. Black folk named Target Target." Another profanity-laced post on January 24th said, "Target, you effing chicken shits. You're an embarrassment to Minnesota. Caving to Trump's demands about DEI programs? Fuck you." A third simply fanned the flames for dissent. "I stopped going to Target because of their support for the trans agenda. I think that is a greater motivation for people to boycott Target than DEI," Nicholas Medina posted on April 18th. All three were found to be posted by fake accounts, according to the report first cited by USA Today. We don't just look at what's being said, we analyze how it's being said, and whether they're even real, cyber spokesperson Jill Burks told the Post. We flag accounts that post in lockstep, recycle the same hashtags and slogans, or only interact within closed loops or of other suspicious accounts. Cyabra, which uses artificial intelligence to detect coordinated manipulation campaigns, didn't find clear evidence linking the campaign to a specific foreign or domestic actor. However, the tactic of inflaming culture war debates through synthetic engagement has become increasingly common, particularly in polarized consumer environments. What did I say? In a follow-up analysis of conversations on X from May 27th to June 3rd, Cyber found that the campaign had not only persisted but intensified. On some days, fake accounts made up 39% of the conversation, outnumbering genuine users. Cyber has seen similar tactics used against other major brands, from fast food chains to tech companies. The playbook is similar. Hijack a polarizing moment, flood the zone with fake voices, and let real users do the rest, Burke said. That's exactly what happened to Target. And it works. The stock dropped $12 billion, and real people joined the boycott thinking they were part of a massive groundswell. Many still are. The Post has sought comment from Target. Last month, Target lowered its full-year sales forecast. CEO Brian Cornell blamed several headwinds, including the reaction to the updates we shared on DEI in January. Minneapolis activist Nakima Levy Armstrong, who launched a grassroots boycott of Target on February 1st, told USA Today she had no knowledge of the disinformation campaign identified by Cyabra. I'm not an ex, and I know our people in Minneapolis have no involvement in the situation, Armstrong said. So, there you go. You know, Elon was famously targeted bots on Twitter. Well, this is the fake news and the deep state's latest tactic. It's a horse race. It's a tech race. I want to bring up this article from Gateway Pundit. By the way, I want to see if I'm still streaming on X. Yep. And I'm going to see if my YouTube stream is working. Just bear with me. While that's loading up, I'm going to start reading this article. Breaking. China's new AI war academy trains cyber soldiers to target American infrastructure. This article is from June 11th, so 4 days ago. While Americans struggle with the effects of decades of open borders, Communist China has quietly launched the most dangerous military expansion in decades, establishing 3 specialized war academies to train a new generation of cyber warriors, whose sole mission is to defeat the United States. One of the most alarming developments is the creation of the PLA Information Support Force Engineering University in Wuhan, the city that gave us the coronavirus. This communist training center will offer 10 undergraduate majors specifically designed to create AI-powered cyber terrorists, including artificial intelligence warfare programs that teach students how to weaponize AI against American military systems, power grids, and critical infrastructure. These operatives are being trained to deploy autonomous cyber weapons capable of adapting and evolving to penetrate American defenses and disrupt national security systems. So, rather than try to do it yourself, create an AI that'll do it for you and will adapt, at lightning speed, faster than a human can. According to multiple U.S. government agencies, including the FBI, NSA, and CISA, Chinese state-sponsored hackers have already infiltrated American infrastructure networks and are actively preparing for large-scale cyber attacks aimed at crippling energy, water, transportation, and communication systems in the event of a conflict. FBI Director Christopher Wray Christopher Wray, he was under Biden, so let's take this with a grain of salt. Director Christopher Wray warned that Chinese cyber operatives have burrowed into the U.S. critical systems and are waiting for the right moment to launch a devastating strike. Congress has echoed these warnings, with House committees sounding the alarm over China's strategic positioning inside our infrastructure and the openly militarized nature of its AI education programs. You want to know my thought on this? China wouldn't have been able to do this if we didn't have traitors from within. if we didn't have Joe Biden fortifying his election and letting them in. But even before him, decades of quiet infiltration, bribes, blackmail, honeypots, recording videos of government officials, U.S. officials and politicians doing weird stuff. I'm dragging my feet on writing this sci-fi novel, but one of the principal rules of the story is you don't actually hack computers, you hack people. You hack the people who use these systems and get them to show you how to get in. The curriculum handles unmanned operations, training to create specialists in drone warfare and autonomous weapon systems designed to target American forces without risking Chinese lives. This is asymmetric warfare at its most dangerous. Particularly concerning is the university's data link engineering program for informationized, intelligent, and unmanned operations, which teaches students how to hack and control the communication systems that link American missiles, warships, fighter jets, and early warning aircraft. Imagine Chinese operatives hijacking our own weapons and turning them against us. Other programs focus on 6G technology, so we have 5G right now. We're all already talking about 6G. Electromagnetic warfare, simultaneously developing the next generation of communications while learning how to disable ours. They are building the future while planning to destroy ours. The Intelligent Vision Engineering Program trains AI specialists in pattern recognition and target identification on the battlefield, effectively teaching machines to automatically identify and strike American soldiers, ships, and aircraft. So, additional majors include big data analytics and automated command systems, aimed at producing specialists capable of processing massive volumes of intelligence to coordinate attacks against American interests worldwide. This is not education, it is militarized indoctrination, and its goal is nothing short of technological supremacy and total strategic dominance over the United States. So, again, China is hobbled because they are communist. They can't have a functioning technology because communism just shuts down innovation and creativity. It's oppressive. So the only way, the CCP can actually pull this off is either stealing from us or buying from us. This Wuhan AI warrior factory represents the crown jewel of Communist China's $245 billion military startup specifically designed to crush American freedom. The university was created by combining elite institutions, the Information Communication Institute and the National University of Defense Technology and the Officers Academy of Army Engineering University into one concentrated weapon against the United States. Xi Jinping personally ordered this AI warfare force to effectively support combat operations and integrate deeply into China's joint operations system targeting American forces. He is clearly preparing for information-focused warfare against the United States, and the regime is confident in American weakness at this critical moment. Where did this report come from again? All these links are from other Gateway Pundit articles. Now, usually I like the Gateway Pundit, but I have not seen any other links to sources in here. So, and the Gateway Pundit, their heart's in the right place, but they are prone to outrage porn. So, just a couple more paragraphs. With riots on the streets of LA, foreigners burning American flags, and the Marines and National Guard now tied up protecting federal officers from domestic terrorists being supported by Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom, China sees a nation in chaos. Until recent Trump purges, there were senior male officers in the U.S. military wearing dresses and ships named after gay rights activists. This is not likely to strike terror into the hearts of communist Chinese soldiers. They were in on it. They were fucking in on it. The regime has set a target of 2027, just 2 years away, to achieve complete military modernization, paving the way to become a world-class military power capable of crushing American freedom by 2049. Their AI warfare university in Wuhan is a key component of this accelerated timeline. While the military spent the past 4 years focusing on woke ideology, DEI training, and pronouns, Communist China was systematically building an army of artificial intelligence warriors trained specifically to target American citizens, infrastructure, and military assets. China sees American weakness and knows this is their moment to strike. Well, it was a moment to strike if Xi Jinping really was a bad guy. Was the New World Order communist mastermind they're saying he is. Again, Trump says he has a good relationship with Xi Jinping. So I wonder if she is a secret white hat, We're going to talk about, Chinese farmland in the United States and how that pertains to the war on terror. But in the meantime, I want to talk about another sponsor that's a way to support the program and a way for you to prepare for this crazy world we're living in, and that is NordVPN. You see that here. It's enshrined in the Second Amendment. But did you know your right to privacy is just as important? If criminals, corporations, or even the government learned your secrets, you'd be at their mercy. That's why the Fourth Amendment requires law enforcement to obtain warrants before they search you. The bad news is, online, big tech colludes with government to bypass the Fourth Amendment. This was revealed in the Twitter files. The good news is, you can guard your online privacy with a VPN. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and it masks your computer's IP address and browser history. I'm proud to partner with NordVPN, the industry leader. With one NordVPN account, you can guard multiple electronic devices. You can share files between your protected devices, and you can set your VPN to other countries. That way you can access content that's not available in your region. Say if you want to watch a show on Netflix that's not available in the US, like you want to see something that's in Russia, you can set your VPN to Russia and watch it. There are a lot of cryptocurrency and markets that don't allow American, trading. If you have a VPN, you can get around that. I'm not saying you should, but we're also saying that the government doesn't abide by the law. So, okay, what have you? Again, NordVPN is the #1 VPN in the world. So click on that link, click on my link in the description, and protect yourself from prying eyes. So that's NordVPN. They're always having a sale, and 90% of the time, I've got my VPN on my computer. So have at it. Articles, and then we're going to dive into Twitter. And we're going to see why Chinese farmland is such a hot button, such a vital issue. You heard about the missile attack by Israel on Iran. This is from RedState.com. Israel's attack on Iran was made possible by clandestine drone and missile bases built inside Iran. Israel's highly successful attack on Iran's nuclear weapons enterprise and other regime targets was the product of years of preparation. Overnight, while the world was watching the Israel Air Force strikes throughout Iran, on the ground, Israeli commandos and from the IDF and Mossad were engaged in their own war. Precision-guided missiles smuggled into Iran attacked Iranian air defense installations and opened the way for Israeli airstrikes, Israeli strike fighters. Drones were then launched from a clandestine base built inside targeted key Iranian commanders and nuclear scientists. In a sequence of events resembling Ukraine's destruction of a third of Russia's strategic bomber fleet, although I've heard that a lot of those airplanes were obsolete, but I digress. Israel used guided missiles mounted on civilian vehicles parked near Iranian air defense installations to cut a path through Iranian air defenses that allowed the IAF to strike targets with impunity. The mobile missiles were backed up, incredibly, by a fixed drone base Israel had constructed near Tehran. which attacked air defense sites and decapitated Iran's military leadership at a critical juncture. Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps commander, the ironically named Hossein Salami, Armed Forces Chief Mohammad Bagheri, and Army Deputy Commander Ghulam Ali Rashid were among the casualties. 6 of Iran's top nuclear scientists were also killed by drones. This operation allowed Israel to carry out attacks on as many as 8 nuclear sites, with the hub of Iran's nuclear program at Natanz receiving multiple attacks and suffering heavy damage. So Mike at Doranimated on X says, the moment a missile hit Natanz. By the way, how great is Twitter? How great is X now that it's a free speech platform under the benevolent leadership of Elon Musk? We can get news and videos straight from the horse's mouth, straight from the scene. We don't have to go through the gatekeepers of the corporate media and the news anchors and the so-called man on the street reporters. We get it directly. We get with context, and we get the opinion of experts in every sort of field without the corporate media filter. Just note, you often read in the media about centrifuges enriching uranium and Natanz being hundreds of feet underground. The egress routes into that facility, as well as the ventilation shafts are at ground level. Not only are IAF strikers were IAF strikers able to operate with impunity, but the drone missile attacks also prevented Iran from launching ballistic missiles against Israel. All Iran could manage in the way of a counterattack was a rather flaccid drone swarm that failed to penetrate Israel's defenses. I heard there were 20 or 50 or 100 missiles sent by Iran to Israel, and only, I can check this later, but I think only 7 missiles got through, and there weren't any Israeli casualties. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the attack will continue for as many days as it takes to remove the spread. The flawless battlefield preparation by the IDF and Mossad makes that a promise, not just a rhetorical device. Now, flipping this on its head, flipping this around, could Israel have done this without the help of the Iranian people or Iranian dissidents who oppose the ruling regime there? Could Israel have pulled that off? I don't think so. There was probably a propaganda effort inside Iran. There might have been some blackmail or some extortion or bribery going on in this case. Now, are we going to judge Israel for doing this? Some people say, sure. Why should Israel throw its weight around? Why should Israel have so much influence over our politicians? Well, why does China have so much influence over our politicians? Why does Britain have so much influence over our country? I've talked about the United States Corporation, which was foisted on us in 1871, and how that's a British, construct. What makes Israel so special, aside from the fact that their original homeland in ancient times was founded by God himself, and that Jesus Christ, the Savior of mankind, God in the flesh, was a Jew? There is a special animus against Israel and the Jews. And they can't conquer Israel and the Jews. The bad guys cannot do that. So they subvert Israel and the Jews. I said this before, there is a deep state in every country. There is a criminal underworld among each ethnic group. There are black gangs. There is the Italian mafia. There's the Japanese Yakuza. There are the Mexican cartels. Obviously, there are Jewish criminal masterminds. Do not conflate them with the honest, law-abiding worshipful Jewish population in Israel or whatever country they're in. You know, Jesus said in Revelations, there is a synagogue of Satan who are false Jews. They say they're Jews, but they're not. So, are the Mossad or the deep state in Israel the synagogue of Satan mentioned in Revelations? They very well could be. It's possible. So, but also in the Bible, if you want to read Paul's letter to the Romans, I recommend you read chapters 9, 10, 11, especially chapter 11, because it has a very good analogy involving an olive tree. Jews are still a part of God's covenant. They're still part of God's people. They're still part of God's team. Jews and Christians are on the same team. I want to emphasize that. The Bible, the whole Scripture itself tells us that. Apostle Paul, who was apostle of Jesus, who talked to Jesus through visions, and like the prophets of old, he had that information, so we can and he had the evidence that he was an apostle. So there. All right. We're going to go to JoeHoft.com. Joe Hoft is a blogger, and he wants to talk about General Mike Flynn. The more I read from General Flynn, the more I like him. But what does General Flynn say? Update on the volatile military situation in the Middle East. Trust me, Iran is in big trouble. General Flynn provides another excellent analysis of the military situation in the Middle East between Israel and Iran. General Flynn shared the following thread with an updated analysis of the military situation in the Middle East between Israel and Iran. Emphasis added. So it must be a thread on X that Joe Hoft has copied and pasted on here. Thread 1 and 2. The current military situation in the Middle East involving Israel, abbreviation IS, and Iran, abbreviation IR, is volatile and marked by a significant escalation in direct conflict between both nations. Background. The last 48 to 72 hours escalated when Israel launched a large-scale air campaign codenamed Operation Rising Lion, targeting Iran's nuclear facilities, military infrastructure, and senior leadership. This followed intel indicating Iran had amassed enough enriched uranium to produce up to 15 NUCs within days. Iran retaliated with missile and drone attacks on Israel, leading to a cycle of strikes and counterstrikes. Key players. Israel, supported by U.S. intel but not direct military involvement yet, is engaged in offensive operations against Iran. Iran, backed by its axis of resistance, including Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas, is responding with retaliatory strikes. Other regional actors, such as SYJO, TU, and SA, must be Syria, Jordan, I don't know what TU is, but SA must be Saudi Arabia, play peripheral roles with varying degrees of involvement. Key tactical developments. Israel conducted over 200 airstrikes targeting Iran's nuclear infrastructure at Natanz, Esfahan, and possibly Fordo. Ballistic missile bases at Kermanshah province, air defense systems, and command and control structures. These strikes killed key Iranian military figures, including the IRGC commander Hossein Salami, top military official Mohammad Hossein Bagheri, which we covered in the recent article, and nuclear scientists Faridun Abbasi and Mohammad Mehdi Taranchi. Unconfirmed reports, the Ayatollah is wounded. Israel employed advanced tactics, including kamikaze drones, launched from within Iran, which disrupted air defenses and delayed Iran's immediate counterattack capabilities. The operation aimed to degrade Iran's nuclear program, suppress air defenses, and disrupt its ability to retaliate effectively. Satellite imagery confirmed the destruction of a major missile storage facility in Kermanshah. Israel Defense Minister Israel Katz declared a nationwide state of emergency, anticipating Iran retaliation. The IDF mobilized tens of thousands of soldiers and prepared for multi-front operations. Israel's Iron Dome and other air defense systems intercepted many of Iran's retaliatory missiles and drones. The some missiles struck Tel Aviv, causing 21 injuries, with 2 in serious condition. Looks like no fatalities, though. The IDF lifted shelter orders after intercepting most of Iran's 100-plus Shahed drones, with assistance from Jordan and South Saudi Arabia Air Forces over their airspace. Israel maintains a high state of alert, with public gatherings banned in some areas, such as Jerusalem's Old City. Iran launched over 100 ballistic missiles and drones targeting Israel military bases and civilian areas, including Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Some missiles penetrated Israel defenses, damaging buildings and causing fires. Iranian Supreme Leader Khamenei vowed a fierce response, warning that Israel would be left helpless. IRGC appointed a new commander-in-chief to replace Hossein Salami, though the identity remains undisclosed. Iran is organizing its military leadership to mount a counteroffensive, but the loss of key commanders and damaged infrastructure will hinder immediate large-scale retaliation. Iran imposed internet restrictions and media blackout to control information flow and manage domestic stability. Hezbollah, weakened by prior Israeli operations in El-Ev, must be Lebanon, has not yet launched significant solidarity strikes, but retains offensive capacity, particularly with domestically produced drones. The Houthis in Yemen, another Iranian proxy, have not been reported as actively participating in this phase of the conflict, though their ties with Iran and recent agreements with the U.S. to halt Red Sea attacks suggest a focus on preserving their strength. Syria's transitional government, hostile to Iran since the fall of Bashar Assad in December 24th, is dismantling Iranian-linked networks, reducing Iran's ability to use Syria as a conduit for weapons to Hezbollah. Now here's the second thread. We're just going to scroll, see how long this is. Okay, most of this page is just comments. 2 of 2. The U.S. provided intel assistance to Israel for intercepting Iranian missiles, but did not participate in Israel strikes. U.S. air defense systems and a Navy destroyer, the USS Thomas Hudner, helped Israel counter Iranian ballistic missiles. The U.S. evacuated non-essential personnel from Iraq and authorized the voluntary departure of military dependents from the Middle East due to fears of Iranian retaliation against U.S. assets. Nuclear negotiations with Iran, scheduled for June 15th in Oman, were suspended by Iran. They're bad, though U.S. officials expressed hope for continued talks. Jordan's Air Force intercepted Iranian drones over its airspace, indicating limited support for Israel's defense. Saudi Arabia has not publicly supported Israel strikes and may be reassuring Iran of its neutrality to avoid becoming a target. Syria's transitional government is aligning more closely with the West and Israel, engaging in deconfliction talks and curbing Iranian influence, which limits Iran's regional maneuverability. Strategically, Israel's strikes aim to neutralize Iran's nuclear threat, degrade its military capabilities, and disrupt its command structure. The operation's sophistication, including drone infiltration and precise targeting, suggests a significant shift in the balance of power. By targeting nuclear facilities and leadership, Israel seeks to delay or prevent Iran's nuclear weaponization, though the strikes may not fully dismantle the program due to its fortified cities like Fordo. Israel's multi-front mobilization indicates preparation for potential escalation with Iran's proxies, particularly Hezbollah, though the latter's weakened state limits its immediate threat. Iran's challenges are immense. The loss of key military leaders and damage to missile and air defense infrastructure have temporarily constrained Iran's ability to mount a robust counterattack. Iran's reliance on ballistic missiles as its primary retaliatory weapon is hampered by Israel strikes on missile bases and air defenses. The weakening of Iran's regional allies, especially the loss of Syria, limits its ability to project power through proxies, forcing a more direct confrontation with Israel. This war risks drawing in other actors, with Iran threatening U.S. bases in Bahrain and Qatar if it perceives U.S. involvement. Syria's shift away from Iran and toward the West could reshape regional alliances, potentially isolating Iran further. The Gaza Strip and Palestinian issues may be sidelined as the Israel-Iran conflict dominates regional attention, potentially exacerbating humanitarian crises. The collapse of nuclear talks, coupled with Israel strikes, reduces the likelihood of a diplomatic resolution in the near term. Iran's rejection of zero uranium enrichment demands and the expiration of the JCPOA snapback mechanism in October 2025 increased the risk of further escalation. So the current tactical situation. Israel maintains offensive momentum with ongoing strikes and a high state of defensive readiness. They face the challenge of sustaining operations while preparing for potential multi-front retaliation from Iran and its proxies. They clearly benefit from U.S. intel and regional support from Jordan and Saudi Arabia, but will continue to operate without direct U.S. military backing. Iran is still reeling from leader losses and infrastructure damage. Iran is reorganizing its military to mount a phased retaliation, likely focusing on ballistic missile strikes. They face internal challenges, including media blackouts and economic strain, which will limit its ability to sustain a prolonged conflict. Iran's weakened proxy network restricts its ability to wage a multi-front war, forcing reliance on direct military action. Trust me, Iran is in big trouble. That's General Flynn speaking. The conflict has heightened tensions, with U.S. embassies and bases on high alert and evacuations underway. The risk of miscalculation or escalation into a broader regional war remains high, particularly if Iran targets U.S. assets or Hezbollah does something stupid. BLUF, I'm not sure what that stands for, but it says, the situation is rapidly evolving and ISS is entering a very critical and dangerous phase. Tagging real Donald Trump and tagging DNI Tulsi Gabbard. So that's a very detailed and very good analysis of the situation. Now, I want to bring us back to what time. I'll talk about Chinese properties, land inside the United States, ownership of land inside the United States, and a lot of that's near military bases. Here's a big difference between that and what Israel just did. We know about China's bases in the U.S. Israel pulled this off completely clandestine. So I've said on Twitter, I've said on other social media posts, there's a line from Seven Samurai. You know that movie directed by Akira Kurosawa, the famous movie about 7 samurai mercenaries defending a small village. There's a line there saying, every good fortress has a gap. I'm paraphrasing, but a good fortress has a gap because that's where you can engage in the enemy and eliminate them without waiting them out during siege warfare. So could it be we have let in Chinese, agents in so that we can eliminate them on our turf and on our terms? I'm not saying that definitively, but I'm just throwing that out there. I remember that line again after October 7th, that horrific terrorist attack on Israel by terrorists. They murdered at least 1,000 innocent people. Could it be Israel let those terrorists in? Like, Israel has probably the most highly defended border in the world. How did those terrorists get in? Unless Israel let them in. Am I saying the deep state in Israel let them do that? It's very possible. Could have been a pretense to actually take out the terrorist threat in Gaza. Again, do not conflate the criminal deep state Jews and Israelis with the law-abiding innocent Israelis and Jews. I hate that I have to emphasize that, but some people are going to intentionally conflate that and cause problems. So we're going to dive into Twitter, but before that, I want to mention another sponsor, and this is a very important one. And that is the Wellness Company. Now, why is the Wellness Company important? It's spearheaded by Dr. Peter McCullough, who's big on the COVID shot and detoxifying from that. Now, 80% of Americans injected a dangerous drug they were told would protect them from COVID-19. Instead of protection, millions have suffered blood clots, altered personalities, reproductive dysfunction, and more. Now, if you're like me, you're outraged by what was done to you. You don't have to admit you're wrong, but you can admit you were lied to. By your doctor, by your employer, and even your church. By every institution that should have had your back. The good news is, there are remedies waiting to be rolled out. President Trump, Vice President Vance, Dan Bongino, and Elon Musk all took the COVID shot. And they are working very diligently and confidently to make America great again. Take that as a good sign. They know something. Until the world is ready, preparations are being made by true, conscientious medical professionals. They're building alternatives to the medical establishment that betrayed us. One of those alternatives is the Wellness Company, and I am honored to be one of their referral partners. They provide multiple supplements to help detox from the COVID shots. They also provide medical kits with ivermectin, which is the antiviral and antiparasite medication that Big Pharma dreads. Ivermectin plus combined with fenbendazole has successfully treated cancer. So go ahead and follow the Wellness Company in the research, and until we are made whole, and on to a new health paradigm. So click on the link and use my promo code for 10% off of your purchase. Reclaim your health. Now, let's dive into Twitter. And I want to read this post by, who was it? Will Chamberlain? That's the thing with Twitter. I always have to wait until. By the way, while that's loading up, I'm going to check my messages on Facebook because some commie trolls been notifying me. How you doing, guys? Oh, criminally. This is such a good tweet, too. I want to give them credit. Yeah, well, talking about is all. This is Michael Corleone assessing the heads of the 5 families simultaneously. We saw that in Iran.